In today's video, we're going to be running through my team selection ahead of game week 6 in EFL Fantasy and also give you all the key data and stats you need to make the best decisions this game week. Now, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy the Fantasy EFL content, make sure you're hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel as there is plenty more coming your way this season. Right, first off, let's start off with the team and how it lined up for last week. Obviously, there's a few changes from the video itself because of the Notts County news. Obviously, Crowley and Jody Jones were also in this side. Both of those didn't feature, so of course we did change them round before kickoff. If you didn't know you could do that, obviously the deadline basically goes up till like pretty much the player plays, so you can always take them out if they're not obviously within the starting lineup. So maybe a little bit of useful tidbit of information. Obviously this is a little bit different compared to other fantasy games where there's a set deadline. With this one, it is a little bit more flexible, so you can go pretty much all the way up until the player plays before you can take them out. Right, let's start off talking about the players that went well. Obviously Dimitru, he is going to be in every team next time I see Crew have decent clean sheet odds. The guy is just an absolute machine at picking up tackles, blocks, clearances. Managed to get himself an assist in this game as well. He just seems like a mega magnet for points, so again, we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on him. Same goes for Clayworth as well from Wrexham. Again, if they've ever got decent clean sheet odds, we'll be straight back on them because, again, a decent 7-point return. In terms of the other players, it was a little bit disappointing, wasn't it? Gilby, 8 points, despite getting no attacking returns, is pretty decent and basically shows why I went for him over Crowley in the end, because he just is a player that just manages to pick up returns despite doing absolutely, well, basically nothing in terms of, you know, getting those returns. So decent from him. Payne with an assist, I can't complain about that. However, Molyneux and Will Grigg definitely let the side down in terms of point scoring. Not having my captain turn up was a little bit of a blow. I definitely feel if he'd got himself on the score sheet or picked up some, you know, more key passes, interceptions, stuff like that, we definitely could have been on for a mega score this week. However, not too bad, and we did manage to climb ourselves up to 492 in the world, the highest rank we've been so far this season. So definitely what we're doing with all the stats is working, and hopefully we can continue that into game week 6. Before we go and dive into my team, let's take a look at some key stats you are going to need for this upcoming game week. Now, as you can see, we now have played a decent proportion of games where we can start mapping the best teams and the worst teams in terms of expected goals conceded and obviously expected goals for. And these are some of the teams that, if you see them on this list, probably not worth investing in their defensive assets unless, as we see, they do appear in the decent clean sheet odds, or worth targeting from an attacking standpoint as well. The likes of Newport, Shrewsbury, Plymouth, Portsmouth, Bristol Rovers, Cheltenham, all teams I would be looking to target this season with very, very poor expected goals conceded. And interestingly, when we come on to look at the betting data as well, it does kind of match up. And when you see these teams with this poor XG, obviously featuring teams away from home usually, it means that the other team has really good projected goal numbers. So it's definitely a factor that I think we need to be considering. And obviously it's something that the bookmakers are using as well. So obviously if you're seeing any of these teams on this list, I definitely would be looking to target them over the next few weeks, and we will keep kind of updating this table and looking at some of the worst defenses you should be looking to target over every kind of 5 game week period. But let's of course move on to our usual data from the bookmakers. Of course, it is going to be clean sheet odds first. Now, Middlesbrough are by and large the best defense according to the bookmakers this week for a clean sheet, so obviously we're going to be looking to target those. Same with Rotherham, Blackpool, Leeds and Birmingham. After that, it does start to tail away, so I would say I probably would be looking to my defenders from these top 5 sides. And what my new recruitment policy is for defenders is not only ones that have decent clean sheet odds, obviously not as well ones that just have the ability to go and get attacking returns. We are looking for those ones like a Dimitru that just managed to pick up a lot of tackles, a lot of blocks, a lot of interceptions, because it's just a bonus point magnet where basically they don't even have to keep clean sheets sometimes and will keep just ticking along with nice, pretty decent scoring as well. And it has been making me think maybe worth captaining a defender one week as well. It's something that I've never done before in a fantasy game because it just doesn't usually appeal to me. However, with defenders getting extra points in this game and it's seeming like a little bit of a cheat code, especially if they manage getting a clean sheet and maybe the potential of an attacking return, just seems a bit broken to me. So maybe one to consider on that front as well. I know we're going to get a few questions about Leeds United being so high up on this list. A lot of people already on Twitter, when I posted this earlier, 4 clean sheets, were querying the Leeds United one, suggesting that maybe I did get the numbers wrong. I didn't. I've double checked them. That's what the bookmakers are suggesting, a 41.7 probability of a clean sheet for this game week. And you know what? The bookmakers know this stuff. I've had a few people now comment on the Twitter, some of the posts, you know, suggesting that, you know, that's not going to happen. That's going to be incorrect. We had a Charlton fan the other week saying, nah, they were going to beat Reading. They didn't. They lost 2-0. The bookmakers know their stuff. And I would say, having done this for a few weeks now, we can see roughly, I would say, between 75 to 80% of the time, they are correct with their judgments. So, you know, maybe you disagree with it. However, take a look, take a screenshot and compare this to next week and see what happens. And I guarantee a lot of these teams will be keeping clean sheets or very, very close to or very low XG conceded for this game week. Moving on to projected goals for game week 6. Again, Middlesbrough top in that list, so definitely a team I would just be looking to target from attack and defence, and of course as a team in general. Blackpool and Mansfield also make this list, and as a Mansfield fan, obviously I have to give some sort of opinion on this one. I'm not going to have any Mansfield players in our team. We've lost one of our best and most creative players at the end of the transfer window. It is obviously, of course, Kelly Dunn, who has now moved on to Barnsley, and I do feel his ability to obviously progress the ball, play in other attackers, is going to be a big blow, and I just don't think we're going to kind of be able to recreate that. Maybe something might change, and maybe, you know, Nigel Clough figures something out with the system. However, for me personally, I'm not going to go there until I see better results. So that's just one. I know they look good on the projected goals, but probably one worth avoiding for me, in my opinion, now that they've lost one of their most creative and key players as well. Blackpool, new manager bounce, so I'm guessing the bookmakers are buying into that as well. Leeds United, again, feature on this list, but like I said, the bookmakers know their stuff, so maybe take into consideration what they are saying as well. Sunderland, Doncaster, and Stockport, and Rotherham as well. Also very, very good teams to be looking to target for projected goals this week. That was all the data. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments section below, and let's move on to my team selection for game week 6. Now, diving into my team selection for this game week, and obviously if you've never been around this channel before, you know my whole kind of ethos for playing this game is building it around, obviously, of course, betting data and projected data. We do have a little bit more of an analytical approach on this channel, and it's definitely working out very, very well so far. So if you do see a few strange picks, just know that obviously we're using betting data and we're using that to our full advantage, and it's going extremely well so far. So let's start off with our goalkeeper first. It is, of course, going to be Phillips from Rotherham. They were the second best team for a clean sheet this week, 43.5% probability. Again, that's really all I'm really looking for with my goalkeepers. They're a low kind of point scoring kind of upside, if you like, for these players. It's across every fantasy game. Goalkeepers just don't score well unless they do something pretty heroic, and getting the probability of that is quite near impossible. So you might as well always just back a goalkeeper, for me, in my opinion, that has a decent chance of picking up a clean sheet. Simple. Right, let's move on into the back line. We're going to start off with Matt Clark. Now, I had him in my team a few weeks ago. I know a lot of other people followed that suit as well, and it definitely worked out. He managed to go and score a goal despite Borough not keeping a clean sheet. Again, this guy, though, like I spoke about in the last section, targeting defenders with good clean sheet odds that manage just to pick up points willy-nilly from interceptions, tackles, all that good stuff, blocks, clearances. Great stuff. And Borough as well this week have the best clean sheet odds as well. So Clark, for me, makes complete sense to be going for as a defender. Same goes for Struijk as well. He's averaging 8.8 points per game. Obviously, they've got that Burnley game, and on paper, it does seem difficult. However, we are somebody that is looking more subjectively just at data rather than the fixtures on paper themselves. Obviously, they were quite high with a 41.7% chance of a clean sheet, and very similar to what we saw with Clark. Again, another player that just manages to pick up points willy-nilly from doing the tackles, the blocks, the clearances, all that good stuff, and took Leeds United's last penalty in the league as well, so might still be on those as well. So if we got a penalty taking defender that can manage to keep a clean sheet and get some extra points for tackles and clearances, great, I'm all for it. Right, let's move on into the midfield. We're going to start off with Molyneux. We are sticking the faith with him as well. He is Doncaster's best player. He's had 2 impressive performances so far this season with 19-point hauls in both of them. In terms of the projected goal numbers as well for Doncaster, they're not the worst in the world, despite it being a away fixture, which is something I don't usually target. Usually I do like to go for the home players. However, we are going for him away. Also, he plays on a Thursday night, so if you didn't know as well, the deadline this week is on Thursday, so make sure you are getting your teams locked and loaded for that one. And I would be suggesting to have a Doncaster player in that, or a player that plays on Friday or in the early kickoffs on Saturday, because what you can do is use the vice captaincy glitch or cheat, if you like. I've used it successfully so far this season. So basically how it works, because I'm going to get some questions about it, so let's go through it. We give him the vice. Let's say he absolutely goes and smashes it. I would say anything above 15 points it's worth doing for. Anything less, probably not. Let's say he goes and gets the 15-16 pointer, right? Then what we'll do is we'll take the captaincy off Evans, we'll put it for a goalkeeper that isn't going to play, and then the captaincy automatically switches over to Molyneux, meaning that we basically get an extra 15 points out of a player. Now, we do obviously lose the goalkeeper points, but like I said, there's so limited upside with goalkeepers that most weeks the maximum you're going to get out of them is 6. So realistically, you're still going to be about 10, maybe even 11 points up, and that's saying a goalkeeper gets a clean sheet as well. So it definitely is worth doing, especially if there's some decent fixtures with good projected goals, or there's decent players playing an early kickoff. I would say give them the vice captaincy armband, and you can utilize this in your teams and basically get, you know, it's helped me progress up the ranks. I've already used it once this week, and that week we managed to absolutely shoot up as well, so definitely worth considering. Next up is going to be Evans. Now, he's currently on the captaincy armband as well, because he's a player that he does play a little bit deeper, but he's just a key passing merchant. And with Blackpool having such good projected goal numbers for this week, 1.54, I'm expecting big things from him. I imagine he's going to be running the show against Exeter and will be wanting to put in a strong performance for his new manager as well. So I think he could be a great shout in midfield to go for as well. And then finally, we do have Bilic. He is playing as a centre-back. Now, in most games, we'll see that as a big no-no, a big red flag, but interceptions in this game are worth 2 points. This guy is picking up quite a few of them as well. Same goes for, I think it's 09, is that how you pronounce it, from Sunderland as well. He's also playing as a centre-back and managing to pick up interceptions. He's also adding goals to that as well, making him one of the most, you know, highest scoring players within the game at the moment. So that is the kind of the thing for that. And I think this is going to be a top of the table clash on Monday night as well. It's going to be a fantastic game to watch. And I definitely feel that he could, you know, have a few interceptions or have to make a few tackles as well during that game as well. So could be one of those games where he just ticks along very, very nicely and could come away with a double-digit haul. Right, let's finish up. Let's head to our striker. It is going to be Mayenda. Sunderland are 4-4 projected goals for this week. As well, you know, they're playing Plymouth, who've got 9.2 expected goals conceded, making them the third worst defence over the opening set of fixtures. That's despite, you know, playing one less game than the teams in League 1 and League 2 as well. And also, this guy is the second highest in terms of expected goals with 2.6 over those opening 4 game weeks as well. Sunderland have looked very, very strong, and I feel this is the first time that I'm looking at them, because they've kind of been picked up by the betting data, that they are going to have a good week for projected goals and a high probability of a win. So that's why we've selected him as the one forward. Right, let's move on into my teams before we finish up. We've got Sunderland. They've got a 54.1% chance of winning, 1.47 projected goals, and have only conceded 1 goal this season. Again, they're playing Plymouth, who, in my opinion, look like one of the worst teams I've ever seen. I watched their game against QPR. I'm unsure how they managed to get a draw out of that game. They are just terrible, and I'm expecting big things from Sunderland this week. Rotherham as well, they've only managed to pick up 1 win so far this season. However, the betting data has suggested a 60% chance of a win, 1.45 projected goals, and a 43.5% chance of a clean sheet. So all that stuff for me, I am going to be backing Rotherham for a big, juicy win. That was my team selection ahead of game week 6. Obviously, if I do make any last minute or late minute changes due to team news, make sure you are following me on Twitter. I also post fairly regularly on there as well about Fantasy EFL. So if you're obviously invested and want to see more content from me, head over to my Twitter. It is right above me now, and drop me a follow. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 6.